Hello, guys. My name's Ryan, and welcome to Wrestle Realm, the ultimate destination for all things wrestling. We're going to dive into the high-flying action, get ready to rumble with our electrifying reactions and in-depth reviews, and a ringside seat to the most thrilling showdowns. Whether you're a die-hard fan or just a curious newcomer, join us on the journey through the world of professional wrestling. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe now and become part of the Wrestle Realm community, where dreams and drama unfold and legends are made. Let's get into it. It's amazing. But then, yeah, we are going to hit the red flag in this movie, and unfortunately, it's the one that I was kind of excited to see.
Yeah,
I have no idea what they were thinking with the Ric Flair casting. It was absolutely horrible. It nearly turned the movie from drama to comedy. It wasn't even Ric Flair. It was like he was playing a parody of Ric Flair, and not a very good one. What say you, my friend Charles?
Same thing. As soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, so this is the Von Erichs Wrestling Federation mocking Ric Flair. That's what they're doing. They're playing games. It's on TV. They're going to play games. Okay. This isn't a real Ric Flair interview. And then it kept going, and I'm like, no, it is. And then when they wrestled, I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, they could have, hired a chair to do a better job than this man did for Ric Flair. I'm sorry. It totally turned the movie at that point for me. I still love the movie, but that character, gave me a bad taste for a little bit, for sure.
Definitely. That's the majority of the casting that I wanted to talk about. Let's get a bit more into the plotline, I guess. You could say that this is a movie about wrestling. You could also say that this is a movie about addiction, about suicide, maybe about all of those things.
Yeah.
But for me, I think the biggest thing that this movie is about the love of brothers.
Yes.
I don't know where you stand on that, but that's where I stand on it. It's how much they love each other, it's how much they look out for one another, the consequences, the pressure that's put on them by the very demanding father who seems to care more about the Von Erichs than he did his sons as actual human beings. That's what I took from this.
I agree with that. And I told you, I think, and you said I love that, but the Von Erichs, was it, bad luck or was it karma? And I don't mean that as a bad thing towards the Von Erich family at all, but the father, Fritz, pushed him so hard to do these things. Michael didn't even want to wrestle. I don't even think David really wanted to wrestle, to be totally honest. But he pushed them, and he got them to the point where, well, if we don't do what Dad wants, there's going to be consequences here. Because every time that he said something, yes, sir, how high should I jump for you today? I kind of get a little bit of a karma, but then at the same time, it's just bad luck. And the family was, do I believe in a curse? No. But man, they were pretty damn close to one, for sure. So.
Well, yeah, we're gonna break up and we're gonna talk about the deaths real soon, because it's such a heart-wrenching story to listen to. And if you didn't know that this actually had happened, you would just sit down and think, yeah, that was all made up. That was just all for TV's sake.
Exactly.
Great movie, all made up. No way that could happen.
There's no. You would think there's no way one family can go through all this.
Yeah.
In a span of like 25 years. There's no way. They did. So.
Yeah. I have in my notes here as well, Kevin Von Erich was a seriously flawed father figure.
Yes.
I would not have liked him to be my dad. I would have really, really struggled with that kind of upbringing.
Yes.
He would say to them, the boys would go to him with personal issues, and he would still tell them to look within themselves to find the answer, instead of being the father that they needed and giving them the answer that they required. And he made them search for that, which I feel was an issue all the way through.
Exactly.
They were left to their own devices.
And a lot of times they turned the wrong way because they were on their own. They were trying to figure out what they needed, So. Definitely.
So they did. I mentioned in my intro earlier on that they left somebody out. Jack was the first of the Von Erich boys that they didn't talk about in this movie.
Yes.
And that he died very, very young. They don't say how he died. only that he was briefly mentioned, but he was 7 years old when he was, and I know how he died, so I'm going to share with you this video. This is why you've come and clicked on this video, to get all the information.
Yes.
It's heartbreaking, but I'm going to be brutally honest with you guys. He touched a live wire while he was playing outside as a 7-year-old boy, and he got electrocuted, and he fell face down into a puddle of melting snow, and he drowned. Absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
Like, it's just unbelievable that this is where this started. And I get they didn't include this in the movie, but kind of wish that they had, and I kind of wish that they hadn't at the same time. I wish that we had the whole story, and you still didn't have to go looking for certain things if you wanted to know everything.
It would have started the whole curse run. We would have known where it started, a little bit more. Now, they do say that he was the first child that passed away, and that's where but they never did say how, like you said. Which, was it necessary? I would say yes, to fully understand what's going on. We do see him later in the movie, so that's always good.
Yeah, it was amazing, absolutely amazing. And I didn't catch on what we'll get to the end in a little bit later, but I didn't catch on in the first watch what I was seeing. It was only after a second watch when I actually realized what was being portrayed, and I was like, oh my god, this is even more beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fantastic.
Yes.
He was the first tragedy of the Von Erich family, and then it was David, who was destined to win the NWA title from Ric Flair, but first came a tour of Japan. But he never got to wrestle on that tour, because that night when he got into Japan, he went out, he had something to eat, and he was drinking. And then when he went back to his hotel room, he was found dead the next day in his hotel room.
Yeah.
Just unbelievably unlucky, you would think. Watching this movie, you genuinely get the feeling of like, what? Yeah. Like, you get so confused. You're like, what? How is that possible? And it's horrible to even think.
Exactly. You fly all the way over there, and then that happens to you, and it's like, wow. They did kind of lead up to it earlier in the movie, but I don't truly think that's what happened with the situation.
So. In the movie, they go with the family story that it was an acute enteritis as the official cause of death, which caused his intestines to rupture. And, you've been sick in the weeks leading up to his trip. He was having vomiting. He was having all kinds of stomach issues.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it could have very well been true. But, Fritz even admitted that before he left David told him, look, I'm not really feeling well. And Fritz told him, you made a commitment. You got the family name. You need to go.
You have to honor your commitment.
Yeah. Now, the family has always denied that it was a drug overdose. But I'm sorry. You're 25 years old. You're a wrestler, so you're pretty well fit. You're going to the gym. You've got a healthy lifestyle of food and all that stuff. You don't just drop dead in a hotel room at 25 years old. It's super coincidental to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to disprove anything that the family have said. I just know that in the past, stories have been said that have been false. Like, I know somebody said, one of the family members said that one of the brothers died from being kicked in the stomach in the ring, and that wasn't true. And all sorts. And the brothers definitely did have a history with drugs, and the whole family did. And you see it throughout the movie. You definitely do see. Yes. Especially Kerry. Kerry has a hard life with drugs.
Kerry,
it's just it's a hard one. Go ahead, Charles.
Kerry leads a hard life. There's multiple scenes where he's using illicit drugs. He drinks, speeds off on his motorcycle. There's so many telltale factors of he needs help, and he's not going to get that from his dad. That's for sure. His dad's going to tell him keep going. So,
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. I think there's more to the story than the family would have people believe, personally. But I think it's kayfabe, and it's to keep the family name and keep everything, I guess, respectable.
I would say
but we also have a brother that was not present in this movie, Charles. The director originally planned to have appear in this movie. That was Chris Von Erich, he too wanted to be a wrestler. Chris Von Erich, however, he suffered from brittle bones and asthma, and he took his own life at the age of 21. Another Von Erich brother that wasn't included in the show, that not a lot of people know about. Chris was said to be hurt by his lack of success and said that had felt like a failure in the eyes of his family. I wonder where he got that from, with his dad being down his neck as much as he was.
Exactly.
The film tells the story of a wrestling dynasty and what's arguably one of the industry's most iconic families. It tackles the highs and the lows of being in the spotlight, as well as the strain that it can have on your family.
He was 21.
Yeah, he was 21 when he died, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at his Wikipedia right now, so we know how professional that is. So
yeah, it's crazy. Now, Chris was cut because they felt like the constant deaths were too repetitive. This was This had garnered some controversy from people feeling like his life was just omitted and it didn't make a difference. Like, why even not even mention it? However, I think it probably would have added even more tragedy to a film that was already very tragic. So I can't imagine what it would have been like in real life, because I was struggling just watching the movie.
That's for sure.
To lose one child would be absolutely devastating. But to all of these, it's impossible to comprehend how painful it would be to have to go through all that stuff.
I'll be totally honest with you. And this may give something away at the end of the movie, but I am so surprised that either the mother or Fritz didn't take their own life at some point in time with everything they were going through. Especially the mother, that way she could be back with her boys. I don't know. Because you see a lot of that. Yeah. You see a lot of that. Parents lose children, and then the next thing you know, we lose the parent too. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from this point, Mike Von Erich was pushed towards wrestling, even though he just wanted to be a cameraman. After bursting up his shoulder battling the ring, he then suffered toxic shock syndrome whilst in shoulder surgery. Unable to wrestle, he overdosed on drugs, which then had a knock-on effect on Kerry.
Exactly. After the toxic syndrome, his brain was kind of scrambled, and that's kind of what it does. It heats you up, basically, and it cooks you, basically.
Okay.
So he was not able to wrestle anymore. He didn't want to wrestle, like you said. He wanted to be a cameraman or behind the scenes kind of guy. He wanted to help the family out, but he didn't want to wrestle.
I think he was even in a band, wasn't he?
He was in a band. Yep, he was in a band that played.
He was even in a band. Shows. He was into his music and all sorts of stuff. He didn't want to wrestle.
Yeah, he did not want to wrestle, unfortunately. And then
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Kerry was then in a motorcycle accident, which led to the amputation of his right foot.
Yes.
So if you knew that. Yeah, this was kept completely secret from the public, with Kerry even wrestling while wearing it. And according to many others, he also showered to keep the kayfabe alive, and nobody even knew that he had an amputated leg.
I'm going to be totally honest with you. I didn't know it till this movie. I didn't know.
I didn't know it either. When I first watched this movie, I found that out. And digging deeper, I found some other stuff. Yep. However, it was very, very clearly hurting him, and he shot himself in his chest at his parents' house at the ranch.
Yeah.
Now, this kind of takes us into the final scenes in which we see Kerry in the afterlife. Now, again, I mentioned earlier on, I didn't realize we were watching the afterlife the first time around. I was a bit confused with the ending, and I had to go back and watch it again, and then I realized we were in the afterlife.
Yeah.
His foot had returned. Yeah, his foot had returned in the afterlife at the end. It's a cool catch. If people want to watch the movie and catch that. He even finds peace with his brothers, even getting to meet little Jack Jr., which broke my heart. I genuinely started crying today and this first and second time I watched this movie when he meets Jack Jr.
Yeah.
It's a hard scene, isn't it, Charles?
It is very hard. Because I've lost a brother before. And
yeah, I'm sorry.
That gives me hope that when I do go, that I can meet back up with him. So
nice. So that is the scene that completely broke me, and you just heard from Charles, it broke him too. It's such a beautiful way to portray the afterlife. I've never seen it done so beautifully before. The brothers all hug. It shows what really matters in the end, and all that is family. Yeah, Vin Diesel we all know the memes. You can come in with the memes, and it's a family meme. It is important that the words are stripped away from the boys and they don't speak, and at the end they just hug it out. This is not the need for long, overblown conversations. There's just the feeling of pure peace. Iron Claw hit home to me. More importantly, that family, how important family is, regardless of the wants of a pushy and overbearing father or the career that you've been destined to take.
Yes.
I am the oldest of 4 boys, 5 if you count my stepbrothers, and I have 1 younger sister, but I'm the oldest of 7 siblings. So it definitely hit home. I haven't had any of the trials and tribulations that they have in this movie, but just having the understanding of brotherly love and what you go through as brothers definitely hit home. Charles, any final thoughts on the movie before we give our scores?
Look, guys, again, like Ryan said, I'm going to watch it again at some point because I'm sure there's little things I missed. Like he said, you always watch a movie 2 or 3 times, you always see something different. There's so much I learned from the movie about the Von Erichs. Again, I grew up in that time frame watching those guys wrestle, watching Midnight Express, all the old school guys, and loved it.
The Fabulous Freebirds.
Oh yeah. Harley Race, the early guys. When it seemed, dare I say, more real. So
it was more real back then. People cared more back then. It wasn't an industry-led titan giant that only cares about views and streams. It was a real, legitimate family wrestling soul, and that's what wrestling was at the start.
Yeah, definitely. I loved the movie. I give it very high marks. The casting was spot on, except for the one character, the Ric Flair. If the director watches this, please let me know why. Just why. Was he the only guy you could get that day, or I had nothing against the actor. I'm sure he's a great actor, but you don't play Ric Flair ever again. Please don't. So
no.
But like you said, it drove home the meaning of family to me, for sure, especially the ending. And then when we get to find out where Kevin is and what he's doing now, is also awesome.
Yeah. Well, guys, I want to thank you all for hanging out and listening to me and Charles from Reselling for Charity talk about the Iron Claw. There's only one more thing to do, and that's for us to give you our scores. In classic Dave Meltzer fashion, he gives those 5 stars out to those absolutely amazing wrestling matches. And I'm not going to go 5 stars, guys, because as you've heard from my review today, there are some things that were missing. There were some things that I feel that could have still been told. I know the film was depressing. I know the film was hard, but I knew that going in. So still to be a little bit disappointing about it, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. And that's purely because I think 5 is 5, and Dave Meltzer doesn't give the 5s out very often. And when he does, they are banger after banger after banger. You see what I did there, Seamus? But 4 out of 5 stars for me. Absolutely hit out the park. Charles, you are my brother. I want to thank you very much for hanging out with me this evening and talking about this. What a fantastic movie to watch with a fellow brother. So thank you.
It is for sure.
Please give the video your score.
Yes. Oh, you gave it a 4 out of 5. That's a high mark. I do agree with the 4 out of 5. I'm actually going to go a little higher than that. I'm going to go 4.25 out of 5. Nice. Again, there was a few issues for me. Like you said, going into it, I knew it was going to be sad. I know the Von Erich story, most of it. We'll never know the whole story because they'll never release everything. But I'm going to go 4.25, 4.25. So I would definitely watch it again. So, and I will.
Awesome. Well, guys, that's it. My name's been Ryan. That's been Charles from Reselling for Charity, and this has been our review of Iron Claw. Stay tuned to the channel, like the video, subscribe, and maybe next time we'll talk about the Wrestler movie. Who knows? Guys, thank you very much. Good evening.